Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're doing a very different type of video. I am reviewing Twitter beef. Today we're going to be talking about Blaze Lifehammer's quote tweet on the WIZARD101 dev account, talking about the new raid feature. I needed to make a video about this because this is just hilarious to me, but also I actually think this really highlights a very real divide between players and devs, and I just wanted to talk about it. So if you guys are unaware, right, the raid's very hard endgame content. A lot of people are struggling with it. It's very hard. It requires 12 people to cooperate, do everything together, and get that W. A lot of people have been talking about whether the drop rates are justified. Even your boy made a video about this, so I mean, watch that if you haven't. But the WIZARD101 dev account put out this tweet. They put out the tweet saying, it's not your drop rates that are low, it's your win rates. Now, I feel like that part itself is actually fine, but the GIF that they added was, I feel like, the part that tipped the scales. And in response, Blaze Lifehammer put out a tweet, and it had a lot of people talking. I don't think I've really seen this type of fighting like this, but like, you know, let's read it. Let's read the tweet. Let's talk about it. This man said, it's tweets like these that make me just want to stay away from raiding on that ass. What it is with Wiz, I can't read. What is it with Wiz always being against what the players want? If you beat the hardest content in the game, you should be able to get the best gear within a reasonable ass amount of time. 200 likes, 20 retweets, lots of drama. I wanted to break this down, give my opinion, and encourage y'all to talk about it in the comments. One thing that I will say right now is I'm not here to start beef with either the WIZARD101 devs or Blaze Lifehammer. I just thought this was a very interesting topic that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on. Let's talk about the original point, right? Are raid drop rates low or are win rates low? In my opinion, I think it's a big combination of both, and I don't think the WIZARD101 devs specifically are getting it when it comes to the Wiz community on this one. I've done, I want to say 12, 13 raids where I've won, and I've done a variety of roles now, and I've only gotten one nullity robe and one nullity wand. Now, this could just all be luck, obviously, because I've gotten almost every pet that I've wanted. I've gotten a lot of different gear. I've gotten a lot of elixir. Most importantly, beyond all of that, within those wins, my strategy is still improving. It's still getting better. So yes, they're 100% right. My win rate is too low. But also, for 13 runs, I do think they have to look at why I'm only getting one wand and one robe that I really, really want. I think there needs to be something that they add to this, and I really don't know what it is. I genuinely think that there's this, maybe like something that can, maybe if you get a lot of drops that you don't want, maybe a way to trade those in for a drop that you do want, some kind of craftable thing where you can maybe transmutate items. Maybe that could be the solution. In a previous video where I talked about this, I thought maybe they should add a way for you to get both a chance at a nullity piece and a void piece. If you're wondering, nullity is more offensive, void's a little bit more defensive. They're good for different schools, so I would like a chance at getting both in a run. Even if it's not a guarantee, I think it would maybe alleviate some of the suffering when you do all this work and you don't get the drop that you want. So I don't think the devs are completely right with this tweet. I will say this, I'm leaning more towards the validity of the point that we're just not ready to get 100% win rate with one raid key yet. I think we're still figuring out strats. It's very early to even have a definitive opinion on this. I'm just saying based on my early experience. I could be very wrong on this. A month from now, there could be an amazing raid strategy where you can just get guaranteed drops. And honestly, the drop rates will probably look good at that point. We'll see, y'all. We're still learning, so keep an open mind and be optimistic. It takes a lot more courage to be optimistic about stuff like this than pessimistic. Now, let's talk about Blaze Lifehammer's tweets. All right, bro? I have to say something about this because it's a very big platform that he has, and I feel like when it's a very big update that could really change the future of content on Wiz, to have such a misinformed take is a little bit irresponsible in my opinion. Let's talk about what I agree with first, all right? Because I don't want to just straight up attack this dude. I do think that Wiz has a very bad optics problem. And I think this point is very much underlined when he says, what is it with Wiz not doing what the players want? And frankly, I think this is going to be a struggle that we're going to deal with more and more. I totally agree with Blaze on this. I think that when it comes to what players want, it's never really prioritized. I think very often, the idea of convenience, the idea of accessibility, very, very often, right? We can look at things like pet making, right? We can look at how inconvenient it is, right? Like, very often, that idea of convenience is weighed against playtime. It's weighed against, you know, how exclusive, how valuable do you want to make items in the game? We're looking at stuff like the gold key update more recently, right? They want to make these gold keys valuable, and they trade off the accessibility and the convenience of the player for that. Even things like auditing spells that are very problematic, like the Scion thing from earlier, like a few months ago, Jin's defense, troll. They take their time with it, but even then, they err on the side of caution when it comes to doing exactly what the players want. Now, these are very different examples. All of them have different, I think, levels to which the player might be right or wrong from the dev's perspective. But I think what's very important to understand is that what the players want might not always be what's good for the game. Whenever you make something like very powerful gear, very easy to get, you'll end up with an issue where PvE becomes extremely repetitive and where PvP gets completely out of control. We've already started seeing a little bit of this. When you go to Lemuria, when you go to the final boss of Lemuria, we're talking about a world that came out and made the level cap 150. You would think that a final boss fight with 8 people would involve some kind of, you know, something, right? Like it's hard PvE content. It has some of the best traps in the game, but what's the strategy that you do? You literally aura, you blade, and then you AoE spam. GG's, you've won. I think a fight like that really highlights an issue with making gear extremely good and extremely accessible. Over time, you get very, very easy bosses that don't really feel like you've done anything at the end of a world. And you also get damage that goes crazy in PvP. I mean, this has been an issue since Darkmoor came out. You have Shads doing like 4 billion damage. You have all kinds of hits just like decimating your opponent before the game even really gets to start and become strategic. So I think when players want really OP pets, really good gear, really great stats, that's good. It's something that you want players to actively seek because that will keep the community vibrant, but also it can run into all kinds of issues when you don't get that balancing act right. So I think Blaze Lifehammer is right, and I think very often on erring on the side of caution when it comes to getting things too out of control, the devs really often do sell out what the players want. I see where they're coming from, but I still think they have a lot of work to do on that. That's just my humble feedback on that. Now let's talk about the parts of this tweet that I think are just straight up L's in my opinion, and I feel like if someone like him doesn't do a raid and they get a bunch of people to believe this, that's like really sad to me, because I feel like this is one of the best updates for PvE that we've ever seen, as in like the raids. They're really cool. They're a cool concept. I think shining that type of negative light when you haven't even done it is crazy. The term best gear is just completely false. This gear is not a direct upgrade in any way compared to Merciless gear or even Highland gear, unless we're talking about pets. The pets are the only direct upgrades, and even the pets that give multiple copies of very good cards, they're still available in other forms. I got the Stormy Null Dragon, it gives 3 Storm Elves. There's a Kioskable Electric Elf pet that gives 2 Storm Elves. The Nullity pet that gives Leaf Storm. Yes, this gives 3 Leaf Storms. Very exciting if you really want 3 Leaf Storms. There's a Kookaburra pet that also gives a Leaf Storm. When we're talking about the actual Nullity gear, what a lot of people don't realize is, yes, the stats go really hard, but it does not have block. So yes, you can get a little bit of damage, get a little bit of pierce, maybe get like stats you've always wanted, like pip chance, but block is extremely important. If you get 3 extra damage, but your block is so low that your opponent can literally have like a 25 times multiplier on you, like a 25% multiplier, who cares if you have 4 damage? You're selling out your resist, your everything. It's ridiculous. You would never want to rock too many pieces of Nullity gear because they don't give block. And the Void gear doesn't give crit, and it also lowers your damage quite a bit. So you also might not want to do that, because then you might be going into the realm of too little offense. Using the term best gear is just wrong here, and that's, I think, something that people need to understand. That was never the intention of this raid. This is supposed to be endgame content, and you might be able to throw in a piece here and there to get slightly better stats. You're never gonna win a whole game off of having full Nullity gear. That's never gonna happen. If anything, you might have a slight edge for having one piece and making good moves that complement that piece. So when you dismantle this idea that this is the best gear, I think the idea that you need to get anything in a reasonable amount of time, especially when we don't know the relationship between how good a raid can get and the drop rate, we don't know anything like that yet. I just think that's a little irresponsible. I guess the point of this video is, I'm not saying anyone is completely in the right, but I do believe that you should do raids and try to get good at them if it really is the type of content that appeals to you, and try to form your own opinions on this. And at the end of the day, let's all hope that the devs have a little less snark towards the community, and that the community gives reasonable takes that are informed in the future, and maybe we'll have some more balance amongst this divide. Let me know what you guys think of this little conversation, I guess, on Twitter. I honestly thought it was funny. I think they're both being, I think both sides of this little Twitter beef, they're hilarious to me. I just think they're just full of personality, full of craziness. I think it had to have been a video if I couldn't help myself. Let me know, what do you guys think? Have you guys done the raids? Or do they appeal to you? What do you think they could improve with them? Do you like the drop rates? Do you hate the drop rates? What do you think of the gear itself? As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave us a review, and if somebody has not told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. I'll see y'all soon. I'll do more PvP and raids and all kinds of things, so drop a noti. Don't be afraid, do it. Stay awesome. And yeah.